Scene Daddy Interviews.
Welcome everybody to Scene Daddy Interviews. My name is Ian, and this is really cool right now on the phone. I have Brooks Betts from Mayday Parade. Brooks, man, how you doing today?
Doing good. Yeah, we have a day off right now, so that's always nice and relaxing.
Right. But it seems like even on your day off, you're working because you're doing shows like this.
Oh yeah. I mean, we just got together like 2 days ago, right? So to start doing like a quick rehearsal. The crew got in a little bit earlier.
Okay.
Kind of set everything up, and so yeah. I mean, we're kind of going from like home life to road life real quick.
Right.
So there's always that transition, and there's definitely always work involved. But when you're we got all that done. You know what I mean? Okay. 2 days ago. So now we're in the middle of just getting to Dallas. I'm actually in Baton Rouge, Louisiana right now.
Ah.
Yeah.
That was what I was going to ask. I was going to see if you were in Florida, so you're in Baton Rouge right now. So why Baton Rouge specifically?
It's just like, you got little pockets, oasis cities, as you go across America. When you got a day off, you don't want to, we weren't going to deadhead it all the way from Tallahassee, Florida to Dallas.
Right.
Maybe we used to do that when we were in a van, but, in a bus. It's a little bit slower, and then you got a driver and all, you got to pay overdrives for, and it's just, and plus it's not safe. So we just kind of take our time. We got 2 days to get there.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, and you guys should make it obviously in plenty of time. So before we hit Sad Summerfest, which starts on Friday, so that's where you guys are going for Dallas, how long have you guys actually been off? Because you tour almost nonstop. So when was the last tour, and how much time have you actually gotten to yourself?
Well, this has been a pretty slow year compared, but you're right. We're usually always on the road. We were in Mexico City last weekend. We did like a quick fly show, which is fun to do.
Right.
It's cool to be able to bounce out somewhere like that and right back home. And, I just moved up to New Jersey. So I actually had a direct flight from Newark to Mexico City, which made life a lot easier than having to do my connections normally over to Tallahassee. And then before that, we were in Southeast Asia.
Wow.
So, we were doing like Thailand, we did Taiwan, we did Singapore, Philippines.
Very cool.
Yeah. So a lot of really cool. We did, what else did we do? I feel like I'm missing one in there. We did Kuala Lumpur.
Oh, okay.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a cool tour. It was like a 2-week run. Something like that, nothing crazy lengthwise, but we're flying. When you're over there in the Pacific, it's a lot of bouncing around. We were taking flights every other day, so that's tiresome and all.
That can wear on you.
Really cool cultures.
For sure. Yeah. What is that transition like? I mean, obviously you've been around the world. You've been doing this for a really long time. What's that transition like going over there to now coming back to the States? Was there anything you missed from here or even now that you missed from there that you wish was over here?
Yeah. I mean, the food's great. Yeah. So that's one thing that I miss when I go to places like that. It seems like you can go and get, fresh food.
Sure.
Is always, and it's got a lot of love in it, which is hard, and it seems like you can find that a little bit more readily over there.
Ah, okay.
But, but then you miss things too. Like things are really convenient here compared to a lot of places,
sure,
anywhere in the world, really. So we take that for granted a lot. And that when you travel, you'll understand like the conveniences that we have that seem to be, not so normal for other people, and they're not worried about it, AC being one.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But internet being another.
Yep.
And but it's like really overpopulated in a lot of those places that we go to. So like that's completely different from where we are here for the most part. The traffic's crazy.
Right.
And just everything it's a culture shock. If you've never been to any of these countries I had just mentioned, it really is a culture shock.
For sure.
It's something that you should see because it's it's a lot. It's a lot like the rest of the world. America's a lot different than the rest of the world, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah. Anyway,
Oh yeah.
it's really cool to check out.
No, that is very cool. So, well, since you do so many tours, you just got off of that one. You're about to start Sad Summerfest in Dallas. That's where you're off to. What do you look forward to when you're first starting out on a new tour?
Well, it's always fun and fresh when you get started. It's exciting, and this tour's not super long, so it won't be like one of those 2-month tours where by the end you're like, damn, I just want to go home for a week or something.
Right.
Yeah. So that's exciting about the tour. You go into it with a great mentality, and we got like 3 shows in a row, I think, for like some of the the longest runs.
Yeah.
Which is not normal. That makes it a lot more fun,
Mhm.
knowing mentally that you're about to go into a tour where you're not killing yourself physically and mentally.
True.
And this is a new type of tour that we put together.
Right. Yeah.
I think the bill is really a great bill. So all those things are really exciting. We're playing 45-minute sets, which I honestly wish was a little bit longer.
Oh, sure.
Couple dates we're doing like hour sets, but either which way, it's a summer festival. You know what I mean? You get
Right.
more bands, and hopefully that draws more people out. We're excited to see what the turnouts look like for this. Some of them are great.
Right. Yeah, I would hope so. And I mean, one of the big things is, like you said, it's a new tour. So you've got not only yourselves, you've got the main, you've got Wonder Years, you've got state champs, more, you've got, people that are jumping on at certain dates as well. So do you mind talking a little bit about how this tour got started? I mean, when I look at it, and I'm sure other people have said it before, but it seems like it's not trying to take over like a touring Warped Tour, but it's almost like a little bit of an alternative for the scene in this like void that Warped Tour left. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the guys in the main, they're really smart guys, about this kind of stuff. They're really inventive. They're really on top of things, when it comes to new ideas, fresh ideas, and that sort of thing. And we were over in England, I believe it was for Download Fest that we
Ah,
saw them, and we started talking about it, and it kind of was
uh-huh.
their little idea to start, and then we jumped on board with it and put it together logistically with them. And when I say we, I mean a lot of it being our manager Josh Terry
Right.
and their guy Tim.
Yep.
And they really put in Mike Marquis as
Oh,
well.
right.
Really kind of put all that together. Whereas it was like an idea that we started with. Obviously, we're like kind of the I don't know if you'd say like the name, the branding that really pulls it all together with the bands. And, it's got a lot of ideas for it, but all of that cumulative together, the teams that work together for this, really, I think has put together something that we can be excited about. Maybe it's something we can build on.
Sure.
Maybe it's something that in the future, we continue to do.
Right.
And maybe not even with us on the tour necessarily, but we try and build this festival.
Oh, okay.
That's the hope. But it's not a big deal if it doesn't grow, past it. It's just like we're just kind of seeing how, like, what void are we filling,
Sure.
for one, because there's a market for it in the summers. Obviously, if Warped Tour is not going to do it,
Right.
not only should we try and make like have a festival like this for people, but two, like, we have to kind of figure out our summers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we're not used to worrying about touring all through the summers. A lot of times what we would do, we knew we were going to do Warped Tour every year, or not every year, but every other year.
For
So
sure.
we would bank on that, and then we would spend our summers otherwise, working on music, being, on the recording side, or, getting together and coming up with new material. So
Right.
now we have to fill that. We
Makes
have to
sense.
figure out, how to do it, and what better way. You got to kind of maybe try and build something and establish something that can be a constant for you in your summers in the future.
Right. So when you talk to everyone, when you're putting everything together, was there some metric of how things actually work on this tour that would say, hey, yeah, we would want to make this something that's reoccurring, something that we do on a regular basis? Is there some metric for that?
We're trying to like basically you're saying like we're trying to make it something that can be reoccurring, and
Right.
is that what you're saying?
Is it more of how you feel while you guys are going out there? Is it more ticket sales? How the whole thing comes together? What are you guys kind of looking for to know if that would be something you try to make reoccurring?
Oh yeah, well definitely, tickets are a way of looking at that, a
Yeah.
meter for that, but not so much this year. Does it have to be that way? I see that there's tickets selling,
Yeah.
obviously we have pre-sale. I think we're already in a position to know that we can be continuing
Oh,
this.
that's great. Okay.
So I think already we know that it's going to be a successful tour
Hmm.
based off pre-sale numbers.
Right.
And past that, everything else is great and bonus. And then you just kind of get out there, you feel it out, figure out how everything logistically is working this year, and then you figure out how to make it better and grow it from there.
Right.
So I see what you're saying. Yeah, but I think we're already there
Oh,
with
good.
the
Okay.
numbers. Yeah. I think it's really it's already in the positive. So yeah, it's exciting. It's an exciting thing, but we've never tried to work any kind of festival, type situation like this ourselves. So we're all new to it.
Exactly.
I think everybody that we work with is pretty new to it.
Yeah.
As far as like us being the ones putting it together. So
Right. Well, I mean, I know from your careers, you guys are very good businessmen. So it makes sense that at this point in your career, you would be able to try something like this, see if it works, and then go from there. So it's very cool to see that whole experiment, take place. You're right about to start. You're going to be able to go through and really measure things out. So that's pretty cool.
yeah.
Totally get it. So let me ask, because you mentioned Warped Tour. Obviously, you guys did that a ton, and now you're going to be doing some outdoor dates for Sad Summerfest. Do you guys, when you're trying to figure out a set list, you talked about, sometimes you're playing 45 minutes, sometimes you're playing an hour. Do you guys actually pick certain tracks based on, it being summer or it being outdoors, what you guys can pull off correctly in that type of environment?
Yeah, I mean, I think being outdoor festivals, especially Warped Tour, you really weren't going to play a lot of slow songs. You were definitely going to keep it up tempo.
Mm-hmm.
That was normally a 30-minute set. So there might be a little bit of room to bounce around a little bit with that on this tour, especially because they're not all outdoors.
Right.
But for the most part, yeah, like what you're saying, you gotta have a little bit of that energy, because that's what people are there for. It's they don't want to be bored, and also with a festival or more bands, you've got more people who are coming out to a show that may or may not be have heard of you before.
Sure.
I would expect most of these people have heard of us, but maybe they haven't seen us.
Right. Okay.
And so they're coming, maybe some of those people are even just coming for the festival, feel,
Mm-hmm.
and not even the music as much. So you want to kind of provide that energetic setting.
Right.
And that's what we had always done for Warped Tour, and that's what Warped Tour was. So we'll kind of follow that model for the summer.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that definitely makes sense. It's just very interesting. What you guys are so really great at with your music is not only making music that really combines energy, and sad, possibly depressing / realistic lyrics, to everything that you're doing. You're also able to capture people with the slower songs like, Terrible Things and Miserable at Best, the list goes on. When I see you in concert, you're able to pull those off even with a ton of people that have just been jamming out to even your more energy filled tracks. So my question to you would be, when you're playing, whether it's, Sad Summerfest or it's Warped Tour or it's even, something indoors, just a regular tour, do you prefer playing those sad songs that gets everyone to really sing along, or do you like the things with more energy?
Well, I play guitar,
Right.
so I enjoy, playing, the more up tempo, or at least, full band stuff
Right.
more, but I also really enjoy making sure that we have all of the songs that people really want to hear
Mhm.
on a set list.
Right.
So, and I always lean that way, when we're putting together a set, in my opinions, and how we, and how I vote.
Right.
But yeah, I think you're right. Like people definitely slower songs are definitely a strong suit of ours. So it always has to be considered. It always has to be there. This might be kind of one of the exceptions though when you're doing a
Interesting.
festival like this
Yeah.
where you don't worry about it so much, and make sure that the energy's there because we're lucky enough to have both sides
Yes,
of the
exactly.
spectrum and all in between. So yeah, for something like this we won't worry about it as much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I kind of thought about that, kind of asking you, since you're playing guitar and I've seen you guys live so many times, when you're playing one of the slower songs, it is really Derek up there with, a piano or a keyboard, and
Yeah.
you're not really in that moment there. So, but that's your time to kind of take a break, get your energy back, do whatever. So I actually did think about asking you, how do you feel when that happens? But I guess it is interesting to think that you might not even do that on this type of tour.
Yeah, yeah, and I actually we probably will for like a song,
Right.
but it's is I don't actually like taking breaks when
Right.
I'm up there because it's nice to be up there and in the moment and stay in the moment.
Ah,
When you
sure.
come off stage, it takes you out of the moment,
Right.
and then you got to go back on and get back in it. So and also too when you're up there, it just flows. It kind of can be a blur sometimes when you're
Oh,
on stage.
okay.
So I kind of like just being up there and playing and going through the set, and then you're done and you're relaxed again.
Right.
Whereas I come off the stage, I'm like, now it slows everything down. Like now I got to sit here and think for a minute about everything. Like I just like being in it and going. So yeah, I don't like half times.
Right. Right. Yes.
Yeah,
No, I didn't think of it from that. I didn't think of it from that perspective. So that is very
yeah.
funny to hear from there. So,
That might just be me.
hey, no, I totally get it. But we'll switch back around a little bit. I want to hit on something real quick with Sad Summerfest as well before we move on to some other stuff. So with this, you're kind of going out with a lot of bands that are in similar genres to yourself. So I just wonder, in scene music, if there was a band, because right now one of the trends is kind of to take opposite bands. So, you've got that big Blink 182 tour where it's Blink 182 and Lil Wayne, and there are tons of other ones that are going to be following suit depending on how well that goes. If you could choose a metalcore band, post-hardcore band, screamo, to go out with, do you have one off the top of your head you could think of?
Yeah, I really like the plot in you. So
Oh yeah.
I think I think that would be a really cool band to take out. Is that fits in the window, right? We're
Oh,
speaking of here.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're very, very. They're a little bit lighter, right, with some of their newer stuff, but
Absolutely.
which could definitely blend with what we do.
Right.
But they're also, I believe they're a Fearless band, so
Yes, they are.
they come from the same sort of uh, I
Background,
guess I
kind of.
guess scene in a sense. They're just on the heavier side of it.
Right.
But I really enjoy their music a lot. I like a lot of heavier stuff in general.
Mhm.
Well, melodic heavy, I guess.
There is a yeah.
Like the plot in you.
Sure.
That kind of style. So, but yeah, we try to do a little bit of that here and there. Sometimes it can be hard because it's hard to convince other bands that it's a good idea.
For sure.
You bring them out on the road and they might feel like they're going to get nothing out of it. But I don't know. I think we should do that more often, or people should be more open to it because, especially within the scene,
Yeah.
there seems to be a little bit of a glass ceiling sometimes with it,
Right. Yeah.
and it's hard to break out of this niche market,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but at least within it, you should try and experiment with the other bands, the other styles that are out there, and turn some people on
Right.
to music maybe they haven't heard.
Yeah, I think that would be the marketing aspect of it would be, yeah, you've got all these Plot and You fans, for example, who might not, I mean, they might know you, but they might not have heard your music, and then vice versa. And to have people stick around for both sets, maybe both of you gain extra fans just based on that.
Yeah, for sure. And we've done a little bit of that.
Yeah.
I feel like touring with Pierce the Veil was a good
Ah,
example of
sure.
that,
Yep.
where and that one works. That one works pretty well. They're very melodic all the way through,
Mhm.
and less of the screaming heavy stuff. But it is still far enough away that we definitely gained something from that, and I wish we could do it more. Another thing I really like, and I should mention too, about like what we're doing with touring with the Maine, which we've done a good bit
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
And then this is the first time touring with state champs, but it's the same sort of thing, is where you're touring with other bands that are right on the same level as you.
Mhm. Right.
Some bands don't do it because it's harder to headline and maybe to make your money and that sort of thing. But I think that is also super beneficial from a marketing standpoint when you can do that. We've done that a lot with We the Kings.
Oh, sure.
They're very very on the same level with us, that kind of thing. So you go out with them. Yeah, you're splitting what you're bringing in for ticket sales and that sort of thing. But what you're really doing is you're providing a much more interesting bill
Sure.
for people. So a lot more people are coming out to shows. It's a lot more fun that way.
Right.
And I think that sort of thing helps longevity.
Right.
For any band, and is something to be thought of, as opposed to worrying about how much money you're making every time,
For sure. Yeah. No, we all know, obviously, the amount of money is important, but it's also important on how you're growing as a band as well, and how kind of, quote unquote, your market share is growing in that stance too, because the hope would be the next tour you go out with, whoever you choose, you'd end up making more depending on getting fans from the previous tour.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you don't have longevity, then you have no more business, and
Right.
you can't write music anymore, and you can't go on the road anymore, and the whole thing implodes.
Right. And I think with your band, with Mayday Parade, you really don't have to worry about longevity because you've already got that. You've got that in spades. I mean, it's continuing.
Yeah, but we
and
worry
continuing.
about it.
Do you really? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess everyone would have to, but it seems like you guys would be pretty comfortable in where you are with what you've done in your careers. I mean, you seem to get better and better. So what is it that you specifically worry about?
Well, I think, we've kind of been at a certain level for so long.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice if we could expand on that,
Sure.
But then at the same time, it's always like a back and forth of like, okay, so we could write songs that might appeal to a larger fan base,
Mm-hmm.
but then that might be a bad idea, because then you might lose your core fan base. And it's always a constant back and forth, and we're always kind of voting on it and trying to work it out in our own heads what the best move is. I think we balance that. I think we do a little bit of both.
Right.
But past all what I just said, is like trying to stay relevant is a really hard thing to do, I think, because as you're writing, your style of writing is kind of changing, even though it has a very I don't know, there is at least a chronicle order, like
Sure.
progression to what we're doing, and they all kind of link to each other.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a big difference from the beginning of this band to where we are now.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's because you just kind of keep growing, and it's hard to write the same stuff. And if you did try to write the same stuff, you might end up screwing that up too, because how are you ever going to reproduce some of your best stuff?
For sure.
If you're like, okay, if you say like Jamie All Over is a gold single, we got to write a song like that. You're never gonna write that song again. So you're just gonna fail every time you try.
Very true.
I feel anyway.
Oh yeah,
but
very rare.
So it's really hard to like move through the records and know that the songs you're putting out are something that the fans want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And then as well, maybe something that could grow your band.
Right.
And sometimes we're right and sometimes we're wrong.
I see.
You just don't know what that people are really going to expect. Because I think a lot of people think that you go in, you write a record, and you got these songs, and you just know what's already good. Because when they hear the songs, they know what's good to them.
Right.
But like from being in the band, it's for one, I think we might overthink it, and that could be part of it. But another part of it is that you're sat on top of these songs for so long. Sometimes you lose bearing. That could be a factor, but if you've ever liked a song on a record that nobody else has liked, then you know what I'm talking about, where you could be totally wrong about what the majority of fans are actually going to attach to. And it's just a hard thing to navigate.
Right.
And we just, because we're diligent and we work hard and we enjoy writing music, I guess we care, and that's why we worry.
Right. Okay, all right. That totally makes sense. And I do notice, when you go through 6 albums, 2 EPs, probably the most different album for you, in my opinion, would be Black Lines. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and as I'm saying, like, oh, we have some sort of chronological evolution. That as I'm saying that, I'm thinking, except for Black Lines, Black Lines is definitely a little bit different. That was like a record that we did, and everybody was like kind of really into that vibe, and I
Yeah,
think we kind of hoped that we could go push our envelope more in that direction,
sure.
you know. So we tried it out that way while still hoping to keep some of what everybody really liked about the music and
Right.
didn't get too far from home base. I think in the fans' opinions, we did go maybe further than we thought we went with
Oh,
that envelope. I don't
okay.
know. Well, you tell me. What do you think?
Well, no, so I am a fan of literally everything you put out, which is hard for me to say for most bands. So I am very impressed with what you've been able to do. What I really enjoyed about Black Lines is that it seemed a little bit more aggressive. It had a different vibe to it, a different tone, while still, like, it almost to me felt like you went from emo pop punk to like almost an alternative rock, somewhere around there, where you heard a little bit more grit in the vocals, you heard a little bit more down tuning on the guitar, the way at least the tone was a little bit more down. And I really enjoyed that. And I'm not saying you have to go back to that or anything like that, but it was a big change to go right to Black Lines and then back to Sunnyland, because Sunnyland captured a lot of nostalgic, at least to me, seemed very nostalgic to some of the older Mayday Parade. And I don't know if you got that same feeling or not.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're spot on with all that.
Okay.
Like that's definitely how we felt about it. That's definitely kind of how we tried to steer it,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And then people didn't take to it so well. So, but I mean, to me, that's still our favorite. My favorite record of ours
Yeah.
is Black Lines, and
Ah.
for actually a lot of musicians, it is. It's really funny, you know. That's just how it goes, though.
Yeah. Right.
Um, so but then there's also songs that are on Sunnyland that could have been on Black Lines. So we don't like turn around and like just shun the whole like thing because
Exactly.
it wasn't well received. We just know that we can't go as heavy down that road. We can just maybe have a song or two that feels like that.
Right.
Like think of it like this. I would say that Is Nowhere and How Do You Like Me Now are two songs that could have been on Black Lines,
Ah,
but
I see.
are on Sunnyland, you
Sure.
know?
Yeah, yeah. I can definitely see that. Was there something you talked about, kind of a tone change in Black Lines? Was there anything that you guys did differently as a band purposefully to get that kind of sound that you were looking for that album?
Well, we definitely went with Mike Sapone
Yeah.
for that for it, and that was part of that, you know, that feeling that he definitely was able to create that vibe that
Hmm.
worked really well with what that those songs were
Right.
as they were written. Um, and we were mentally in that area where we wanted to be a little bit more rough around the edges for sure with this record. So with Black Lines,
Yeah.
so everything just played together that way. We had a producer who was good at doing that.
Right.
Personally, I wish we could keep doing that, and if we could just be crazy, with our like and grungy with our music. But yeah, I mean, it was a conscious effort,
Right.
and everything that we were doing at the time, was working towards that, and we had the right people like Mike Sapone to help facilitate those ideas and make it darker like it was.
Right.
But that guy's great. I mean,
Yeah.
he works like tonally. I'd be working for 3 hours with him on a guitar tone for the verse,
Right.
you know, just to go and turn around and change it for the pre-chorus and then change it again for the chorus.
Wow.
So he was very, very in depth and very creative. I loved it. I loved working with Mike.
So when you talk about the reception maybe not being as good as you guys wanted it to be, what as a band do you do in that situation? Like, obviously you kind of went back a little bit with Sunnyland like we discussed, but does there come a point where you're like, well, we really enjoy doing this, and even though we might enjoy doing, the other sounds as well, we really want to focus on this kind of line here, this direction. Do you just go for it at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just Like you're saying, like when we switched up for Sunnyland, you just go for it in a different direction.
Yeah, or coming up now when you're going to be working on new
Oh, I
music.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we write songs, and then you kind of see what you got. Like everybody ends up in different places in their head,
Sure.
with like their style and it changes and it evolves. So you end up with a lot of variety
Hmm.
because everybody writes in the band. So
Right.
everybody's
Right.
got songs that go on records, and everybody's got different styles that they write with,
Hmm.
and it's really interesting.
Yeah.
We just try and pick the best songs usually, and based on all of our experimenting, which we will continue to experiment.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a lot of places we haven't even really gone
Oh,
with
for
our
sure.
music yet that we could kind of just play with a little bit,
Yeah. Expand on. Yeah.
um but the idea is to have the best songs on the record
For
and
sure.
not try to overthink too much stylistically what it is.
Right.
You hope to do that, but at the end of the day, you still go back and you look at it again and you say, are we being smart about this, or are we, just being in our heads thinking this
Right.
is good and our fans are going to hate us because now we got some digital beat on a chorus or something.
I gotcha. Well, now I know you've done side projects before. You've done Truth or Consequence, where you definitely went in a completely different direction than Mayday Parade. Would you ever go and do another side project where maybe you really do go in more of a Black Lines-esque type direction?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've thought about it because I have music that was more Black Lines that we didn't use,
Hmm. Yeah.
and I continue to write music that would fit on Black Lines, but we still won't use, probably because some of it's too crazy. But I do love grunge and '90s rock,
Yeah.
so that as a big player in that, and I think that I would love to grab one or two other guys and just put a three-piece together around it.
There you go.
But I mean, I'm in no hurry to do it either, really. I just, it would just be fun if I did,
Right. Right.
nothing crazy. It's just like, oh, I got these cool songs. Maybe we should put them out. And I don't know, maybe we should just put them out and not even tell people that who's in the band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like put them out under a name and just let them sit online on Spotify.
There you go. Yeah, just don't even do any promotion or do a promotion that it's a completely secret band
Yeah.
and no one can know who it is whatsoever, but at least they're out there. Yeah, look, I heard a lot of grunge influence in Black Lines, so that's why I was asking because Truth or Consequence is like an alt country-esque type band, so that's so different from Mayday Parade, so it just seemed like maybe that would be something you'd want to do in the future.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I still write stuff that's kind of folky or country-esque,
Yeah,
and you're right, like alt country would be a good like I guess subgenre for it. Maybe we do some more of that too. That's
sure.
um like for like a Hold On to Me is a song that pretty well would have fit with like a Truth or Consequence vibe,
Sure.
but somehow was able to push it enough that the guys ended up wanting to do it,
Yeah,
and we were able to take the country out of it enough that it worked. But that was pushing the element on in that direction.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, so you never know. And then kids actually really like that song, so it's really hard to know what people like
Oh, yeah.
sometimes and don't like.
Very
But
true.
yeah, grunge, country, and the pop punk, emo thing is, that. But I even mess with pop music too, like more
Okay.
recently for fun.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I'll do anything really.
yeah. Well, you also, I mean, bringing that up, you mentioned being obviously a guitarist in Mayday Parade, but in Truth or Consequence, you're also singing as well. You're doing a lot of other stuff. Is there a reason why you separate that from Mayday Parade?
The music with Truth or
Well,
Consequence.
no, not the music itself. What you do in that band. Like, is there a reason why you're not also singing in Mayday Parade while you're not, doing those extra things that you're doing
Oh,
there?
yeah. I didn't grow up singing. So like, and I'm actually really pissed about it. So, because as a kid, I always thought either you had a voice or you didn't, and I
Oh, okay.
didn't. Yeah, so like I would just kind of, I was just like, "Oh, I'm not gonna sing. I just play guitar. That's what I do."
Gotcha.
And then later, as I was doing more songwriting, I realized that I could probably develop my voice and get better at it, and I've
Right.
just come a long way with it. And even Through the Consequence, when we put that out, it's been a long time ago. So there's a lot of growth past that. My voice is getting a lot better. And I'm just like, I should be doing music. I should be singing on something, but I'm not going to just all of a sudden interject my voice in Mayday Parade
Sure.
halfway through the career, because that's just kind of weird. Now all of a sudden this new voice shows up on
Right.
tracks, right? Um, so yeah, but I love learning. I love getting better.
Mhm.
I'm always writing music. I'm always doing demos. I even mess around with doing co-write stuff.
Oh, okay.
With guys. I just moved up to New Jersey in that area, and
Mhm.
so I'm able to now do co-writes in the New York area.
Oh, cool.
And so like I go into rooms and work with guys, and I wanted to develop my voice, and I wanted to start putting it out there, and that was a great project to like kind of force me to get a lot better quicker.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And my voice is terrible on that EP, by the way, but it's gotten a whole lot better. But yeah, it's just I was a late bloomer with it, and also I try and tell kids that too when they're coming up and they're learning, or really anybody, if you want to sing,
Yeah.
is you just got to start doing it and do it a lot and know that you suck and then get better.
Right.
Because it's really something you can develop.
Yeah.
And it's not some people are going to be naturally a lot better than you,
For sure.
or just because there is a natural element to it.
Right.
But that talent can be learned.
Yes. Right. No, it's very true. So very cliche, but you talked about, not knowing if you could be a vocalist or not, so you chose guitar. When did you make that decision? Like, when did you decide, hey, I'm not going to focus on this, I'm going to focus on guitar?
I mean, I don't think I ever really focused on vocals,
Oh, okay. It was just a decision that came up. Okay.
Yeah, I just was doing guitar.
Yeah.
So I think that later I just decided that I could start singing. And when I was 13, I started learning playing guitar.
Okay.
And I met Derek, right?
Yeah.
Like in that same year.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, and he was already doing some music with this other kid, Ben Woodsum, and playing drums, and I just came into their garage and started playing with them.
Right.
So Derek's already singing, so I didn't really worry about it, I guess, from the get-go. I was just like, I'll play guitar, you sing, I play guitar, you play drums, you know what I mean?
Right.
So then it wasn't until a lot later that I was like, you know what? I think if I want to get some of the songs that I'm writing out and get the point across, I've got to learn how to sing enough to like record these at least.
Sure. Right.
Yeah. So that's why that's basically how it all worked out vocally for me.
Gotcha. And the reason why I'm kind of asking about this is because obviously in the band itself, different people do backup vocals for sure. It's not all Derek, but I think one of the really interesting parts about Mayday Parade is for being together for as long as you guys have been, you've really only had one member leave the band. You haven't had a lot of turnover. It was really just Jason. But one of the things that I think started people really enjoying Mayday Parade with Tales and then A Lesson in Romantics was kind of having that co-lead vocal kind of thing going back and forth. And I was just wondering why you guys decided not to continue in that direction.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was actually part of that pull to like the pull away from doing that.
Okay.
I kind of in the sense of like I just especially for like Black Lines, I kind of was like, we should try it out with Derek just doing the vocals, kind of thing. I think mostly that's because it's like trying to kind of mature the sound. Like if in a way that if you go and listen to anything that would be popular in music, you're not really going to find a lot of acts where you got guys singing, trading back and forth.
Sure.
So I just kind of, was of that mentality. It's like, maybe we just kind of like phase that out a little bit or use it when it's needed.
Right.
And we do. We still went back to doing some of that.
Yeah.
And maybe we go back and do more. I feel like nothing's concrete, and there was just kind of experimenting with it. But I think you're also onto something when you say like, why, we started out that way. It's something that our fans know is a Mayday thing.
Right.
So it's kind of like, why wouldn't you stick with it? And I think some people miss that.
Sure. Yeah, I think, and maybe you don't even think about this, in this way, but I think a lot of people that will be listening to this, I think myself, Scene Daddy, everyone around the scene sees Mayday Parade as one of the huge bands in the scene. So it didn't hinder you whatsoever. You've just, like I said before, you've gotten better and better, bigger and bigger as you've gone on. I don't think there's been a huge drop off. At least as a fan, there hasn't seemed to be a big drop off with that. So you've been able to adapt, evolve, however you want to say it, to continue getting fans and keeping original fans, even being a little bit different than when you started.
Yeah, somehow. I don't know. We're just happy to be doing it. I mean, there's a conscious effort there. Like,
Right.
it's just like I was saying before, definitely a conscious effort. We work hard. We don't try and slack on anything.
Right.
So, I think maybe all that just really pays off. We try not to have missteps, and that's, you never know what's gonna be like the thing that people turn away from, or make them disinterested. So most bands can't do 6 records. We're just really lucky. That's all I can say about it.
I'll put talent in there as well. There's a lot of talent that goes into what you're doing. So
yeah,
I don't get to do this often. I I hope you're okay with it. I got to go back to A Lesson in Romantics because the song "You Be the Anchor" is probably in my top 10 all-time songs. So let's do a little bit behind the music for that, if you're willing. What was the writing process like for that song, and did you think it would catch on the way that it did?
You Be the Anchor?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it would catch on the way it did. I really like that song because if any song has a little bit of an indie feel to it, that song definitely kind of can capture that.
For sure.
But maybe a lot of that's in the guitar.
Oh yeah.
If I can remember, I mean, we were at Jeremy's, our bass players in Florida, when we were doing a lot of rehearsal for that record and writing these songs. And I remember, that was a song Jason wrote, and I remember him being pissed off at us because we were changing it.
Oh, okay.
We like, and I mean, you got to think, like, this is like 14 years ago, maybe more. I can't even, probably about 14 years. I can't remember exactly what it was that was pissing him off about it, but I think it was that we were slowing the song down.
Oh, okay.
And it ended up being that, you know what I mean? Like, cumulatively, we helped, the vibe get to where I think we settled on and recorded it at. But, past that, I just remember thinking, I mean, it was a 6 song, so we were stoked on it. And anytime it's your baby, like, it's something you bring in, and like you gotta answer to the rest of the band, and they're like, trying to disagree. They're disagreeing with your opinion on your song.
Yeah.
That you masterminded, and then now they're gonna come in 5 minutes and change everything. You get a little upset about things. That's totally understandable. But also too, with this band, it always worked well when we worked together. To create things. So, help each other out. It's like somebody brings in 95% of a song, 90% of a song. The rest of the guys usually make it well-rounded and make it something that really works for the band. Right. That's all I really can remember about that song.
Oh, sure. No, look,
from back then.
I had to take the chance. I have not been able to talk to you guys about that. It's just, there are some songs that really hit you out of nowhere. And that's one of them. Like, I can literally put that on anytime and it's going to make me feel good. So I very much appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's my blast from the past there for sure. So one of the things before we wrap up here, I wanted to mention, so I had said before, I've seen you guys live a ton of times, probably around like 10 or so. And 2 of the times I saw you guys do Tales in its entirety, and I saw you do A Lesson in Romantics in its entirety. Is that something that you guys are going to try and do as time goes on? Like right now is Anywhere But Here. Is that on the docket next?
What, for like Anywhere But Here or other records you're saying?
Do you think you're going to do a 10-year for each one of your albums? Do you think that's possible?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's hard to say, because it's like, that was our most popular record.
Sure.
What we did, we were able to do like a world tour for that, right?
Right.
But then, say for like Tales Told by Dead Friends, we did a shortened kind of version of that, right?
Yeah, right.
It wasn't quite as extensive. We'll probably try and do something special for each record.
Okay.
But it is hard to say like what caliber. of touring we'll do for each. It has to make sense,
Right.
So we'll have to figure that out. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, it's a great thing to do. It breaks up your normal touring cycle,
Right.
and gives people something exciting to check out. That when else are you gonna you're not gonna just do a normal tour and say, all right, we're playing this record on this tour. And they go, huh? What about all your other songs?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's that other 5 albums and 2 EPs? Yeah. Where are all those?
Yeah.
For sure. No. Just had to check because it seems like you guys are popular enough that you would be able to do that. So, okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. We'll do a little something.
Nice. Okay. All right, Brooks. That seems like a perfect place to end tonight. We kind of hit every part of Mayday Parade's whole career. So now the big thing is Sad Summerfest. That starts this Friday. This will be out a little bit after that, but people will know. We'll have links for everything so that people can get tickets all across, the tour dates that you guys are doing. But until then, what is the best way for people to support you?
To support music?
No, to support you. But yeah,
Oh,
support music
well,
in general too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to support, well, mostly going to shows. And
Yeah.
I think that's for music in general, and that's for our band is
Sure.
come out to shows, and that's the most rewarding thing that you could give us, is just coming out and having a good time and creating an exciting environment.
Right.
It's something that you can, in a world of streaming and downloading and all that, that's whatever. People can take what they want, they can get whatever they want. Everything's super accessible. But one thing you can't replicate and you can't duplicate and download is a live show.
Right.
And
right.
I think that'll never go away. So
Great. No, works out perfectly. We'll have links in the description of the episode so that people can do just that and also follow you on social media, so they'll know everything that's going on for sure. So Brooks, once again, man, Mayday Parade is one of my favorite bands. I'm looking forward to seeing you on Sad Summerfest as well. So thank you for, delving into everything with me. And thank you very much for being on the show, man.
Heck yeah. Thanks, Ian. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Scene Daddy Interviews.
Thank you all for listening to Scene Daddy Interviews. Make sure you support the artists we featured by checking out the summary of the episode. Also, for all your scene news, reviews, and memes, make sure to follow Scene Daddy and Ian Hates on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe and rate Scene Daddy Interviews on your favorite podcast listening app for more great artist interviews in the future. Stay seen.